Hi everybody. So I've also gotten oh goodness my phone. I've also gotten questions on how to make respawning enemies. So I'm gonna do that for you guys here as well. Now we're gonna want to do a trigger. Now how you do that is, well, first you're gonna go to your texture search as usual, type in trigger, and you'll find a bunch of them. You can also just go with trig. Trig will give you more. There's a bunch of different kinds of triggers here. Now none of them actually have their own setting. This is meant for you so that while you're editing you can determine which are which, you know, in radians. I'm just going to use the basic trigger texture, find out where I am, and we're just going to put it in a place where the player can run into it, being right here. And so you're going to click N. That'll open up your world spawn entity stuff. You go and you're going to type in trigger, and you're going to see a bunch of them. You're going to want to go down to trigger multiple. You're going to want to use your keypad for that. So use the arrows to go down to trigger underscore multiple. When you're over it, hit enter on your keyboard. Bah! You've got it. So next thing we're actually going to keep this blank, except for one thing. We're going to give it a target name. Target name is going to be what's this called? We're gonna call it spawner. Why not? So this thing is now named spawner. That's all we really need to name it. We're gonna go over here. Now this is a really simple, basic way of doing this. We're gonna find an actor, and we're just gonna make sure German. Why not? An MP40. Let's give 2 of them here. Great, so now we've got 2 German MP40 people. I'm actually going to move them up a little bit. I don't want them getting caught in the geometry. And we're going to name them the same thing. So their target name is going to be enemy. Alrighty. Now you have to click several things here. So now that we have these set up, click spawner and force spawn. You don't have to do force spawn if you don't want it to be forced spawn. I recommend you read the stuff up here. It'll help you out when you're trying to figure out what you need to force spawn and what you don't need, and yada yada yada. And now here's going to be an important part though. What we're going to want to do, hit Shift G on your keyboard, and it'll bring up this script group sort of looking thing. So and Beach AI is for Tokyo. What we're going to do, they're on the axis side. We're going to make them color group red. Now this is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is through friendly chains, but friendly chains, I cannot get them down for the life of me. Honestly, if somebody could teach me how to do a friendly chain, I would love you forever, because they're a little more specific than this. So we're going to create 2 nodes over on this side. We're going to get 2 guard nodes and then place them right here and right there. Now as you can see, we already have a bunch of path nodes all over the place, these little purple guys. So they will know where to run. These little guys here, and we're going to click on the trigger now. So we have the nodes and the trigger selected. Shift G again. Same process. Make sure it's axis, red, same color as your actors, and then hit that. And what's going to happen is, if we go ahead into our function here, you'll see now that the script underscore color underscore axis is R0. That means that it's the first one that they'll go to. So if you want the enemies then to move somewhere else, you can actually add a new set of nodes, get a new trigger, do the same process, and it'll make it R1, meaning that when you step into that next trigger, they will go to R1. But as far as I know, and I think this is a downside of this over friendly chains, is that color groups, when you need to move back somewhere, I don't think color groups support that. And I think friendly chains do. Friendly chains, they'll follow you wherever you go so long as you hit the triggers. And color groups, they follow the number path that is their color group. And of course, you can force color groups through scripts as well. I've been looking at the scripts inside of the game, and I've seen that they've forced a few color groups here and there through script, but I don't know too much about that. So we're gonna go to our our test map. So we're going to find our test map. That's going to be, well, the GSC file, which is going to be in our root world.war folder, raw maps. And we're going to go and just type in our things. Mine's called test map. So we'll go ahead and load up the GSC file. I have a certain thing that allows me to differentiate between stuff like this. It kind of helps. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new method. I'm going to call this spawner. And we're going to create a spawner method. Perfect. It's all set up. Now it's set up. Some of this is just aesthetic. You don't really need it. I do it anyway. And what we're going to do is we're going to type in trig equals getInt, and we're going to have two parameters here, right? This first one is going to be the trigger, spawner. So this is what we named it, right? We named it spawner. Yes, we did. And then over here is target name. What that means is it's looking for the entity in the game that has a target name of spawner. So now we're going to go back over here and then trig, because trig, the word trig is now equivalent to this inside of our spawner. So trig, wait till trigger. So it's going to be waiting for a trigger to activate. And now we're going to type in simple underscore flood spawn enemy, because enemy is the target name of this guy right here. Now before we continue, I do want to make sure we do one more thing in Radiant. It's good that I caught this. You're going to want to go to the key here, type in count, and then the value is going to be 2. So that, oh goodness, you don't want that apostrophe there. 2. So that means that they'll respond twice. Good. So we've got everything in order, and we've got this in order, but we're not entirely done yet. I'm going to just make a new one. I'm going to call it, actually, we're not going to need this right here. I put that in there a while back while I was figuring this out, because I'm using the same map I used to figure it out a while back. We're going to go ahead and yeah, so I have a map here that I'm using for Tokyo, and this is all a bunch of just random functions that I have. But in them are the two most, well, noticeable. Simple spawn, which is just like simple flood spawn, except it only spawns the enemy one time, and you can use it when you need certain enemies to wait for a certain amount of time. You have timed encounters. I've never used is valid. Simple flood spawn. That's what we're going to need for this, though. And that's what the script looks like. We are, because I do the same thing in Tokyo. If we go all the way up here, I'm still in the process of doing stuff. I just included Tokyo underscore util. I recommend that you put this in your own utility folder. It will take some time to do, but if you do it, then by all means go for it. I'll be pasting this as well as simple underscore spawn, this little guy right here, in the description of the video. So anyway, we're just going to include our utility thing, our utility script, in this map, so that way it can get the appropriate function when needed. And that's all there is to it. I'm going to go show you guys what it looks like in game. Make sure you save everything, close it all down, and compile your map, and I'll see you there. Just a post note, make sure that when you're doing the hashtag include or the pound include and then whatever your script is, make sure that it's located with the other pound includes and not below it, otherwise it won't read it properly. Let's go and just restart this level, and I'll show you what I mean by it all works. They're gonna run out. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him. Let's go ahead and just down here. Go back up, and they're spawning again. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but they do spawn. It's just the simple flood spawn how it works. There are ways to kill the flood spawners, and you can do that in that group settings, Shift G. Though I'm still actually toying around with that right now. Anyway, I hope this helped, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Let's see if they spawn a second time. I think count 2 only allows them to spawn from it twice. Yeah, the count is the number of times that an enemy can spawn, not the number of times an enemy can respawn. Keep that into account. Anyway, goodbye.